Welcome everybody to our webinar today. We're so excited to share with you about Skyterra Embrace and therapy and wellness. A few housekeeping items. Feel free to send questions in through the chat throughout the presentation. We're more than happy to address them as we go. And we're just excited to share this with you. Our intention is to not only tell you a bit about our program, but give you a few takeaways that you can start using today on your own wellness journey. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Negron, who is our clinical director and primary therapist. She is going to tell you more about our model.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. Excited to be here this afternoon, and would love to just share a little bit of my background and my expertise. So I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor in the state of North Carolina and a nationally certified counselor. And I have been in the world of therapy for over 10 years. And before I entered the world of therapy, I started my own wellness journey, practicing yoga and becoming a certified yoga instructor. So that is also another role that I am privileged and proud to have at Skyterra Embrace, is being able to share yoga and mindfulness with the students of our program. And so as I said, my wellness journey started as a yoga practitioner and teacher, and it really informs my perspective as a therapist and as a counselor. And so I'm really excited to be able to share this model with our viewers today of really how therapy and wellness can offer a boost into adulthood. So before we jump into the presentation, I want to share a little bit, I want to share a story with you. So I will start by saying that I am a talk therapist through and through, and I also recognize some of the limitations of talk therapy. So oftentimes what I hear is that individuals that they may work with a therapist and they may not have the tools or the skills that they're seeking to be able to really apply what it is that they're exploring and learning in therapy. And so I take a perspective of really being able to learn skills and then be able to practice the skills. So an experiential component, being able to learn, to have ample opportunity to practice, recognizing that practice makes better, practice does not make perfect. So with that, we'll go to the next slide, which is an example of, or really a demonstration of what it is that we're using in terms of our models. So focusing on mind, body, and lifestyle habits. And so the specific points that I'll touch upon over the course of the next 50 minutes that we have together this afternoon are culinary education, fitness and mobility, self-care and stress management, recreation and adventure, and mindfulness and yoga, and be able to give some activities, some resources, some different strategies that each of you may be able to apply upon completion of this webinar and throughout the course of the webinar as well. So to give an example of how this really plays out, I want to share the story of a young woman that I worked with probably about 6 months ago. And so she is a young woman who is incredibly smart, has a really supportive family, and was struggling. So had some challenges with anxiety, with depression that led to her not completing college. She got stuck. She had one assignment that she needed to complete, one project, and every time that she sat down at her kitchen table to be able to complete it, she didn't do anything. And beyond that, she was struggling to get out of bed in the morning. She spent a lot of time in her bed. She was struggling to leave her apartment. She would order food and go pick it up. And that was the extent of her leaving her apartment or her interaction with the world around her. And she got to a point that she realized that what she was doing wasn't working for her. And so through this model, through engagement and participation in all of these components that I'm about to discuss with you and share with you, this young woman learned to like herself again. She learned to be able to look in the mirror, to be able to see herself and to like what she saw, and to recognize her capabilities, her potential, and to come up with a plan to get herself unstuck, so that through our work together, She found success, she found confidence, she found a new relationship with her body, and was able to take that home with her and finish up her class and get out into the world of work. So just want to give that brief snapshot of how this works, and now I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So as a therapist, I'm naturally going to start with mental health, and the recognition that we are the sum of all our parts. So we are our minds, we are our bodies, and there is a relationship between all of those parts. So from that therapeutic lens, starting with mental health and recognizing the importance of mental health to be able to support the other facets of health and well-being. And we're going to share all of this information with you. So if I don't hit each of the touch points, know that you'll be able to refer back to this webinar. And what I really want to focus in terms of empowering your mental health is encouraging you to find the right fit with your providers. So recognizing that it is not a one-size-fits-all approach, as convenient as that would be. And sometimes it takes a couple of times to be able to find the right fit, to find a provider, whether a therapist or a psychiatrist for medication management, that you feel connected with, that you feel like is really listening to your story, is able to hear you, and is able to guide you in the way that you are seeking. And through that, being that active participant in your treatment. From that perspective of empowering your mental health, again, focusing on the idea of starting with the relationship with yourself to begin. So if you're not currently feeling very good about yourself, then that serves as a barrier, and recognizing that it serves as a barrier to get up and get out of bed in the morning, that it serves as a barrier to being out in the world of work. It serves as a barrier to building relationships with people around you. And so through building relationships, whether with your faith, whether with your family, with the natural supports of your community, I want to share another example. So this picture here is from some of the equine work, equine assisted learning and community service that we do at Skyterra Embrace. And I've been privileged to be able to work with horses throughout my therapeutic career and recognize the benefits of relationship through equine. So equines and animals, dogs, lots of different animals, they're able to provide feedback in a way that feels less threatening. So whereas when I interact with someone, I'm looking for feedback. I'm looking for their verbal feedback, their nonverbal feedback. I'm reading all of these cues as to how they're responding to me. With animals, they use their bodies. So if they want to connect with us, they come closer to us. If they're not feeling connected to us, then they move away from us. And we can also start to tune into ourselves about what it is that we're communicating in our relationships. So in this picture, you can see that this individual has a big smile on her face, and she's really connecting with her animal. She's learning to take care of her equine and recognizing that relationships take care. We have to invest ourselves in our relationships in order to have the needs of both parties met. And that's one of the principles of natural lifesmanship specifically, and also one of those learning points that we can learn in the work with animals and then be able to apply in our relationships with our humans. So let me start by saying that we have at Skyterra Embrace an amazing registered dietitian on our team. And she is going to be leading a webinar. Here's a little plug. Another webinar, the next in our series, the first week of December. So I strongly encourage you to sign up for that webinar because Alyssa Patillo is a gem and just so incredibly informative, so much wisdom to share and guide you on your relationship with food. What I've learned from working with Alyssa is the importance of practicing intuitive eating. So being able to listen to yourself, to listen to your cues, listening to your cues when you're hungry, listening to your cues when you're satiated, and being able to find that sweet spot of feeling nourished, feeling energized for whatever the level of activity is that you're participating in, without feeling as though you're restricted, or without feeling as though you've eaten so much that you're full, and that's going to impact your range of activity. So again, Alyssa, first week of December is going to be able to dive into this in greater depth and detail, and I strongly encourage you to participate in that webinar.
We also have a great blog on our Skyterra at Home website about intuitive eating that we will make sure you all have access to after the webinar as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephanie. So I'd like to ask a question here. If you were paying attention to that first slide where we present our model of mind, body, and lifestyle habits, on that slide, it mentions fitness and mobility, and this slide is talking about movement and mobility. So I want to invite each of you to respond with your ideas on your thoughts. And is there a difference between fitness and mobility? And if so, what's the difference? Thanks so much for those answers. So the framework that I want to work with today is, again, looking at the whole body. So recognizing that movement is the key. Movement is what we're looking for, and that can and cannot be related to fitness. So participating in individual or group fitness is a type of movement, as is walking your dog, as is taking that coffee break when you've been sitting at your desk for an hour working on a project and you realize that you need to get up, you need to stretch, you need to take a break. And speaking of breaks, I'd like to invite you to take what we call a movement snack. So a movement snack is recognizing that when we're sitting for long amounts of time, sometimes our energy starts to get depleted. So through taking 30 seconds to get up, to stretch, to energize the body, we can start to circulate the blood, and that can also help us refocus our attention to complete that project that we're working on. So again, always by invitation, if you'd like to now, I encourage you to stand up out of your chair and find a little bit of space available to you. And what we're gonna do is 30 seconds of movement. So your choice here, you can choose to do 30 seconds of jumping jacks. You can choose to do 30 seconds of squats. You can choose to do 30 seconds of push-ups. I'm gonna do squats, and I have the good fortune of working at a standing desk, so I'm gonna step back so you can see me a little bit, and I'm gonna invite you to join along with me. So 30 seconds of movement starts now. Awesome. Thank you so much. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more energized now. And I agree, Stephanie had A+ form with those jumping jacks. All right, so getting back to this idea of movement. When we are moving our bodies, we start to really connect with ourselves. So we can tap into physical, mental, and emotional strength. And again, I'll share a little bit of a story here. So I worked with a young woman. She was about 18 at the time, and she had a belief that in order to move and get the most out of her workout, she had to spend hours in the gym. And so again, she was 18, didn't have a full-time job, and was able to spend that amount of time in the gym, but was also not feeling satisfied for the amount of time that she was spending in the gym. And through her experience, through her education with Skyterra Embrace and an opportunity to practice, she recognized that it's not about the length of time spent in the gym, it's about the quality of the movement. So not quantity, quality. And so what we're sharing with you and what we'll send out again as those resources is this idea of a quick fit, so that you can take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever amount of time that you have, and be able to move your body in some way, and that all movement counts. And all movement is going to help you feel active and to feel energized, to feel good and charged to get through the rest of your day. So coming back to the idea of therapy and self-care and stress management, again, recognizing that all of this ties in together. It is not mutually exclusive. Everything on each of these slides is going to contribute to overall health and well-being. So the image here is probably one of my favorite tools to use as a therapist. It's an emotion wheel, and there are many different emotion wheels that you can find out there. Again, we'll send one to you in your resources to be able to reference and to use if you'd like to. And so really the purpose of the emotion wheel is to help us identify that we can have a wide range of emotions. It's beyond, mad, sad, angry, to really get into the specifics of it. And we can use that information and really all of the information on this slide to determine what it is that we want for ourselves. So what is it that you want for yourself? How do you want to spend your time? What do you want to be doing in the world of work? What do you want to study in school? What do you want out of your relationships? And through the reflection, through being able to identify what your stressors are and to have tools to manage those stressors, you can start to get that clarity for yourself. Another way to help define what it is that you want for yourself is through setting and maintaining boundaries. So I recognize that this can be challenging for many people. Sometimes, well, let me start by saying oftentimes we haven't been taught how to set boundaries, and we're not really sure how to do that. And we want to maintain our relationships, and we're concerned that if we set boundaries, that it may damage our relationships in some way. So I'm going to offer you one of my, one of my signature directives in terms of setting boundaries, and that is no is a complete sentence. You can say no. You can say no to relationships that do not serve you. You can say no to activities that are not supporting your health and wellness. You can say no when you're feeling tired and you don't want to go out and participate in activity. You can say no, and by saying no, by setting that boundary, by holding that boundary, you're practicing self-care, and that can also be a tool to manage your stress. So we are located in the mountains of Western North Carolina, just to give you that context. And so really fortunate to be immersed in the mountains. And with that, I want to encourage you to get outside as much as possible. Now, I know we're getting into the winter months, and so that may be challenging, especially if you're in some of the colder areas of the country. And again, going back to that idea with the movement snacks, it doesn't have to be a long amount of time. It can be a couple minutes, walking the dog, going outside and walking around the block, being able to get some fresh air, some sunshine, and to be immersed in nature. Hopefully you're also going to unplug and leave your phone if at all possible. So that way you can really be immersed in nature without distraction and breathe it in. I know down here, the leaves are changing color right now for fall, and it's a really beautiful time to be outside and to simply observe, to watch the clouds roll by, and to take a moment to slow down. And also with that, recognizing that the outdoors give us so much opportunity to challenge ourselves, right? So you can challenge yourself by learning a new skill. You can challenge yourself by doing something that may be a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit unfamiliar. And through that, you can learn what you are capable of doing. And outdoors provides so many opportunities for that challenge, for that growth, for that awareness. So I encourage you to get outside once the webinar is over. So I'd mentioned in my introduction that I am a yoga teacher. And I also recognize that when I say the word yoga, it can bring up some different responses. So some of the things I've heard from people are, oh, I can't do yoga because I can't sit still, or I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible, or I don't like yoga because I don't like sitting with my thoughts. And so what I'll offer is that yoga is a mindfulness practice, and it's not the only mindfulness practice. Mindfulness is one of those words that can be thrown out. And so to give you my working definition of it, mindfulness is paying attention to what's going on within you, paying attention to what's going on around you, and noticing where your attention lies. So it's not necessarily about forcing anything, about doing anything, about sitting in stillness or in quiet. It's about observing. And so I'm going to once again invite you to practice mindfulness through working with the breath. I always offer invitation with the recognition that you have choice. If you would prefer not to participate in this activity, that's totally fine. And if you would like to participate in this activity, I encourage you to find a comfortable seat to start. If at all possible, your feet are flat on the ground. So you have that contact, that reference point. And then from your seat, you can extend your spine. So you get a nice tall stance. Maybe you feel the chest start to lift and broaden. And then you can keep your eyes open, you can keep your eyes closed, whatever is most comfortable for you. And I'll also say that if at any point in time, as we go through this exercise, which is square breathing, if you notice that you're feeling tension in your mind or in your body, if your breath starts to quicken or shorten, then you can always return to your natural and comfortable breath. So square breathing, I'll explain it and then I'll guide you through it. So our square breathing is working with counts of 4. So if you picture a square, we're going to inhale to the count of 4. We're going to hold that inhale. So we're full of breath for 4 counts. We're going to exhale to the count of 4. And then we're going to stay at the bottom of that exhale for 4 counts. We're going to do that 5 times in total. So if you'd like to practice that square breathing with me, let's start by taking a deep breath in and out. And then we'll inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Last round. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. When you're ready, you can come back to your natural breath. And for those that may be curious about breath work, I'll share with you that square breathing is a strategy that the Navy SEALs use. So if they can do it, you can certainly benefit from doing some square breathing as well. So coming back to the purpose of this webinar, how can therapy and wellness give you a boost into adulthood? All of this ties into independence and life skills. So really having the awareness, the knowledge, the tools to feel as though you can tackle whatever comes your way. And so what I encourage you to do is to set SMART goals. So I have set SMART goals in the work that I've done as a school counselor, focusing on academic, career, and social emotional growth. And I set SMART goals with my clients on a weekly basis currently. And the purpose of that is to be able to be really specific about what it is that you're working towards, and then also to have a system of holding yourself accountable, to be able to recognize whether you achieve the goal that you set, or if there is some continued work to be done on that goal. So breaking down the specifics of the SMART goal is starting with the S, and the S stands for specific. So you want to be really clear and detailed on what it is that you're working towards. An example of that may be, I am going to run a 5K on Thanksgiving. So it's really specific in terms of what I'm going to do. And the M is for measurable. So you can measure the goal that you set. In that example, what can be measured is the 5K that I'm going to run. That can also, you can also measure your goals in terms of journaling every night for a week. And you'll know that you did it when at the end of the week, you get back and you flip through your journal and you have an entry for every day. So you want to be able to measure the goals that you set for yourself so that you know what quantity it is that you're working towards. The A is for achievable. The goals that you set need to be achievable. They need to be realistic in terms of the expectations that you're setting. They need to be something that's doable for you. That's a question I often ask people is it doable? Because if it doesn't feel doable, then you're probably not going to be motivated to try to work towards that. So the goal that I set of the 5K is achievable for me. If I set a goal to run a marathon, not so achievable yet. I'd have to work up to that. The R is for relevant. So the goals that you set should matter to you. Again, if it's something that your family member wants, if it's something that your partner wants, then there may not be that level of motivation for you to work towards that goal. So the goal really needs to be something that is meaningful to you, something that you want for yourself, something that's important to you. And then the T is timely. So being able to set a specific time so that your goal isn't ongoing. There's a difference between short-term and long-term goals. And it's great to have long-term goals. And it's also important to have a point to be able to pause and check in with yourself, to hold yourself accountable, like I said, and to see if your goal has been achieved or if it needs to be tweaked in some way so that it is achievable to you. And so again, SMART goals, great way to support anything and everything that you want to do for yourself in all of these domains that I've talked about over the last 30 minutes or so. And so I encourage you to set a SMART goal today. So as we start to wrap up our time together this afternoon, again, really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be with us and to invest in yourself, to learn about some skills and strategies that you can use to support yourself, your health, and your well-being. And so the next steps that you can take, that I invite you to take, are to think about your relationship with food. Everyone's relationship is unique, and if you would like some additional guidance in terms of exploring your relationship with food, again, our own Alyssa Patillo will be leading a webinar the first week of December, and she'll be able to explore your relationship with food with you in greater detail during that time. The next invitation that I'll offer you is to challenge yourself to move your body for 30 minutes a day. So remember that 30 minutes can be taking your dog for a walk. That 30 minutes can be going to get a glass of water and taking a movement snack away from work. It could also be, as we did with our movement snack, 30 seconds of movement, squats, jumping jacks, lunges, push-ups. So many opportunities out there. And Stephanie will be sending that follow-up email with the quick fit. So if you want to check out some other options for ways that you can move your body for those 30 minutes, you'll be able to reference that resource as well. And then finally, I invite you to schedule intentional time away from technology. So technology is important, right? We're using technology to connect right now. And we always have our phones or those little computers in our pockets, and they're an invaluable resource. And when you can schedule some time to be away from your phone, hopefully that creates opportunity for you to really check in with yourself, to remove distraction, to reflect, to explore, to be curious about your thoughts, your feelings, your experience. And in doing so, that is also a mindfulness practice. So it doesn't have to be a long time. Maybe you start by putting your phone away 30 minutes before you go to sleep and exploring what comes up for you for that. And then you can start to increase those increments of intentional time away from technology.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. This has been great information and fun as well. I'm energized from my jumping jacks. We want to invite you all to join us for the next 2 webinars in the series. So how to reset your relationship with food will be with our registered dietitian, Alyssa, and that's going to be Tuesday, December 9th at noon. And then your challenge, your choice will be Thursday, January 6th at noon with our Executive Director, Greg Osler, and our Program Director, Emma Mooney. And the link to register is on our website, which I will send out in an email as well, but we hope to see you all there. And then also our contact information. So if you have any questions about our program, Jennifer is available. If you have any admissions needs or questions about admissions, feel free to reach out to me. We would love to just chat with you too. So we've saved some time here at the end for any questions. Feel free to pop them in the chat if you have any questions, and we're happy to take a few minutes here and answer those. Great question. How often do the students do movement snacks throughout the day?
So the way that our daily schedule is set up is that there's opportunity for movement snacks throughout the course of the day. So oftentimes we're balancing perhaps like a lecture or a therapeutic group or something that may require some more focused attention, where the students are sitting for 30, 45 minutes with a movement snack. So whether that's going for a walk on the campus that we have, which takes maybe about 20 minutes or so to do one of the loops, that's pretty popular. Or again, doing a movement snack of being able to do some push-ups. We invite students to do movement snacks throughout the day. And I think oftentimes what I observe is that students are doing movement snacks probably about 3 to 4 times a day.
It's also important to note that we are able to have a very intentional, balanced schedule at Embrace, which I don't know that in the normal day-to-day is as easy for most of us with work. And so they do have fitness and or movement and mobility classes scheduled into every day, as well as mindfulness practices. So we're able to kind of schedule that in, which I don't know that most of us have that luxury.
Yeah, I know for myself, my movement snacks are often motivated by my watch that tells me when I've been sitting for too long, and I get the little buzz that it's time to get up and move.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you all again for joining us. We appreciate your time, and we hope to see you on the next one. Have a fabulous day.